You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another podcast of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to any of the social media links you see in the description box to get in contact with the show for any comments or any suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. All right, so on today's podcast, I want to ask the question, should the New Orleans Pelicans have given Zion Williamson an extension? So let's go ahead and provide some context for those of you who don't know who Zion is, because Zion doesn't really play anymore now. So you might have forgotten who he is or maybe never heard of him. But Zion Williamson, was a number one draft pick in the 2019 NBA draft out of Duke. Big force in high school. Played 1 year at Duke with Coach K. Everyone knew he was the number one pick coming out. He showed tremendous potential. His first two seasons with the Pelicans, offensive force, always hurt though. Offensive force nonetheless, but when he plays, he can give you 20. He can give you 20 a game when he plays, And for a man his size, he has a combination of, and it's unique, for the way he's built. If you ever seen him, his size, athleticism, and skill is very unique for a man of his size. Now, for the Pelicans, is he really somebody that's going to change the course for the New Orleans Pelicans? Let's be honest, the Pelicans are at the bottom. Well, I won't say they're at the bottom of the league anymore. I mean, they have some guys on that team with Brandon Ingram and McCollum. They need that one piece to take them over the top, and it should be Zion. But Zion is never on the floor, And I think in Zion's case, with his ability to attack the rim, finish strong, and create scoring opportunities for guys like Brandon Ingram, if he can stay healthy, it's unmatched. The guy can. I believe Zion is that good. He's one of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA. Again, when he's on the floor, okay. But again, that's the dilemma that the Pelicans they're faced with. They're plagued by a lot of his injuries early in his career. He's missed a tremendous amount of time due to knee injuries, and there's concerns about his weight, his conditioning, and that could potentially lead to more injuries and health issues down the line. I know with athletes there's always a risk with injuries. You just never know. But the Pelicans have more confidence in Zion than I have, because they gave him the extension, and he just hasn't been able to overcome those challenges and become a franchise cornerstone, and the Pelicans had to consider the long-term implications of their decision by offering him that extension, and you knew Zion wasn't going to turn it down, and I know you want to send a message to your fans, the fan base, and the people in New Orleans and to the rest of the league, saying, hey, we're trying to win, we're taking care of our guys that have been here, they're coming off the rookie deal. So we're going to take Zion and make him the face of the franchise, and you have some people who will say that, well, the Pelicans, being that guys don't want to go to New Orleans, they couldn't afford to let Zion walk away and risk losing him for nothing in free agency. So offering him the max contract, that ensured that they have a young superstar to build around and attract other players to New Orleans. But that really hasn't worked. Remember, the Pelicans had AD, they had Boogie Cousins, and guys weren't clamoring to go down to New Orleans and play. I just think that the Pelicans, they should have assessed his health and performance for maybe another season before committing to a long-term deal. I believe the deal was like 190. I think it's something that's absurd for a guy that just can't stay healthy, and stay on the floor. And Zion just comes with a lot of risk, and now you got the situation with I believe the woman's name is Mariah Mills, who is putting all his business out there in the street. That's another story for another day. Well, I'll touch on it real quick. Zion needs some kind of man in his life to tell him that, look, man, you can have fun with him. I'm not going to tell a young guy to not have fun and spend a little money, but the way he was doing it was no. That's not how you do it. And, he's in a lot of mess with that. There's a threat of certain tapes coming out between the two. And, Zion seems like he would rather play off the floor than on the floor. His girlfriend is pregnant, I believe. And, so he has a lot of that going on. But if I'm New Orleans, I probably wouldn't have extended a contract to him. I probably would have tried to trade him, try to get something for him. It's just, to me, it's just not worth the risk. So far it hasn't been worth it because Zion's not on the floor. When's the last time you saw Zion Williamson playing basketball? I can't even tell you. So I know the Pelicans, they'll come out and say, look, the extension was a calculated move. There were, risk involved, and, the talent and the potential outweighs the risk, and they had to secure, the franchise player, so I get it. But myself personally, if I am the New Orleans Pelicans, there's no way I extend Zion Williamson. I probably would have tried to trade him and see what assets that I can get for Zion. To me, it's just not worth it, and it hasn't worked out for the Pelicans. So I might be in the minority in this case. It's just not worth it, guys. I would have let Zion walk, and that's just it to it. So look, that's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to the social media links in the description box to get in contact with the show for any comments or suggestions. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.